Hello and welcome back to another video. Good to have you here. Today I want to talk about I suppose a simple concept, but a very important one. And that concept is essentially, in a sentence, obsessing over someone else is doing yourself a disservice. Some people might not struggle with this, but then I believe that there are certain people who really do, and it's a pattern for them. That they meet people, particularly romantic interests, but it can also be friends as well, and they make them the sole, most important thing in their life. And quite often, when you have this kind of dynamic, it's not reciprocal. And ironically, when you put someone on a pedestal like this, it actually pushes them further away. Because the truth is, none of us are perfect. I think we can all look at ourselves and find things to criticize. Imagine that someone is treating you like you are perfect. Can you imagine that it might feel a little bit uncomfortable? A little bit strange? Why is this person treating me like a total god, angel, when in reality I know that I'm not that great. I have a lot of flaws. And when you are treating someone this way, they will consciously or unconsciously have that pattern of thought. Why am I overvalued so much? Why does this person prioritize me over their own self-respect? Because when you make someone else the sole focus of your life, then naturally something else has to take the back seat, and that something else is you. And the truth of the matter is the harder you chase something, harder you chase someone, the further away they get. It's just not how the universe works. And I know that sounds fluffy and silly, but it's true. Let's say for a second that you get this person or this thing that you're chasing. Well, what happens next? Because you won't be satisfied forever. That is a certain truth. Humans are not designed that way. We are constantly seeking for the next best thing. And a new person can never be the best thing. Say you get this person and it feels great, amazing, and it will be for a couple of months, but eventually the novelty wears off, and then suddenly you're just left back with yourself again. And if you abandon yourself in the search of others, it will only lead to ruin. It will only lead to ruin. What the infinitely better thing you could do for yourself is to treat yourself like a friend you're responsible for helping. Treat yourself like you're on the top of the pedestal. Put yourself on the pedestal that you keep putting others on. Because I bet you are really bloody nice to all those people. Well, why can't you do that for yourself? Why can't you treat yourself like someone that you love? And if it was someone you loved and you saw them exhibiting the behavior that you do, when you get obsessed with someone and you start putting them at the top of the list, would you sit there for that person you love and think that was a good thing? Probably not. Probably not. And that's not to say that we should all be arrogant, selfish people who don't give to others. And that's not to say that we shouldn't be loving people. But the truth is when you have someone at the top of your list, when they are the biggest priority in your life, you are no longer loving that person in a true and free way, because you are giving and you are loving with the intention to receive, because you want that person. You need to love in a way that you don't expect anything back. And that doesn't mean that you accept mistreatment or that you settle for nothing. But I don't think you need me to caveat that, because I think you know the difference already. The people who struggle with obsessing over someone else, they need to give themselves that love. And that's really hard to do, because it's really hard to look in the mirror and actually examine your own life and think, what hole am I trying to fill here with this other person? The cycle will repeat until you do the work, until you look at your life and you do the self-work and you think, why do I need this person so bad? You don't need anyone, provided you are a physically and mentally healthy person who can care for themselves. You don't need anyone. Now, that's not to say that there's not people that we like in our life or feel like we need. Family, friends, siblings. But you don't love those people from a place of lack. Do you? You love them from a place of abundance. There's a very, very true and wise saying that I heard recently. Cannot remember who it needs to be attributed to. But the saying is that we should aspire to love people in a way that they feel free. And when you put someone at the top of your list, they don't feel free anymore. They feel the pressure. They feel the need and the lack within you. And that's why I say that making someone else a priority in your life, the top priority that is a disservice to yourself. And that sounds selfish, but isn't it loving to have someone there should be, I want to be a priority in their life. Why can't they be a priority in my life? There's nothing wrong with prioritizing people you love, but are you prioritizing them or are they the priority? Because there's a difference. For example, if you are not looking after yourself, are you going to be able to show up in the best possible way for that person? If you're not looking after your health and you want to live until your children grow up, is that loving to the children by not looking after your health? Actually, in some ways it's not. Because by not prioritizing yourself and by not looking after yourself and by not letting yourself be the most important person in your life, in the long run, you actually do a disservice to the ones you love. Because if you are not loving yourself, then you cannot show up as your best self in the lives of other people. So you will show up as an unfulfilled person, an unhealthy person, somewhere unhappy. Because you do not exist solely to serve others. You have your own existence that you should value. You should follow your own dreams, and someone else cannot be your only dream. For someone to be your wife or husband, that is not your dream. So I will say it again. If someone else is the number one priority in your life, then you are doing yourself a disservice. Now, of course, there are plenty of caveats to this. For example, you have a baby. Of course, they do have to be your priority because they cannot physically look after themselves. But I think we all know that this video isn't really about that. This video is for the people who, for some reason, struggle to love themselves first. The first step is actually just recognizing the pattern. You are worthy of love. And that starts with you. You have to love yourself first. Because the way you treat yourself is how you teach others that you deserve to be treated. And when you prioritize someone else and disrespect yourself, your own life, your own existence, then you're teaching that other people can treat you that way as well. Which is why all of those relationships where you completely over prioritize and over invest and obsess about the other person, that's why they all fail. That is why they fail. Because you have not done the work on yourself. You are, ironically, by being so anxious and obsessive about that person, you're actually being avoidant. You're avoidant to the problem within yourself that needs addressing. Problem is quite a strong term, but it's true. Your obsession with someone else is just a way of filling a void, an unmet need in your psyche. And you can fill that hole yourself, but it requires work. And it requires honesty with yourself, but you could do it. You deserve that self-love. And you can achieve it, and you will be happy. I believe that. I believe that you will be happy when you are able to look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. Now, happy is a big term. You're going to be happy all the time. but it's certainly a lot easier when you're not hiding from yourself and when you're not constantly reaching all the time for someone else to reassure you of your worth, of your value. You don't need someone else to tell you what you're worth. You can tell yourself. You can see it in yourself. If you consciously observe the way that you show up in the world and the actions that you take, then you can see it for yourself. And you are worthy of love. And the easiest place to start is with yourself. Love yourself. Because your life depends on it. The people who love you depend on your ability to love yourself and look after yourself as well. Go make it happen. Go make it happen. This is your life. It is your life. So you should live it for yourself first so that you can give to others freely without any expectation or anything back. It is that simple. I'm no genie. I'm no wizard. And this video is probably just as much for me as I suppose it is for everyone I'm making it for. So have a fantastic day, fantastic evening, whatever. Thank you for watching, and you've come this far in the video, so promise me, and more importantly, promise yourself this, that you will love yourself. Just try. Just be a little bit more loving to yourself. It's what you deserve. And life is a lot easier when you're loving to yourself instead of being an unreasonable critic. Peace. That is everything. I'll see you in the next one.